Good morning, everybody. My name is Ray Eckhoff. I'm here hosting with Tim Davis, the Eastern Monmouth Area Chamber of Commerce podcast for Friday the 7th. Am I right on the date?
Yeah, it is
Okay.
Friday the 7th, and
All
thank
right.
God it's Friday.
I think we all feel the same way.
And so my favorite thing to say on Friday morning is, it is Friday morning, and we're getting ready for the weekend, but we're going to have podcast and coffee here with the Eastern Monmouth Area Chamber of Commerce. We have our Spinnaker Award winners here today for community service of Zager, Fuchs. Did I say it right? Did I get
got it. Nailed it.
Awesome. We have Lynn and Lynn Staufenberg. And what do you do with Zager Fuchs?
I'm a partner at Zager Fuchs for the last 6 years. I am the sole matrimonial attorney there, so I handle divorce, custody, child support, premarital agreements, all that stuff. And then the other area of my practice is elder law, which is estate administration, estate planning, estate litigation, some guardianships for the elderly, and for children with special needs, some trust planning. And that's the bulk of my practice. That's the only areas I focus on at this point.
Wow, I just walk into some place and one of my earnest referral partners walks in and I didn't even know it. Kevin, say your last name for me, please.
Asadi.
Asadi. I was going to get it right, but I didn't want to screw it up.
Most people get it right.
So, Kevin, what do you do with Zager?
I do a lot of real estate-based work, whether it's transactional, real estate development, landlord-tenant work, tax appeals, and title actions in court, you name it. If it has anything to do with real estate, I've got experience with it.
Awesome. So the reason you guys are here today is that your organization has spent a lot of time and effort in developing community relations and giving back to the community. So tell me how and what things that you do that give back to the community, because I know that you're really well. I'm sorry?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the other things I wanted to point out just right away, too, is that, being involved in the community obviously is a lot of different things, but Zager Fuchs has been involved with the Chamber I've been involved with the Chamber for 30 years, and as long as I've been on the Chamber and involved, they've been involved. So I know Kevin and Lynn probably don't know exactly how long Al was involved, and whether Mr. Fuchs was involved originally, I'm not really sure. But it's 30 plus years they've been involved with the Chamber, so right there tells you how dedicated they are to community service. So, so I mean, that's part of what we're here to discuss. So,
Right.
you want to jump in first,
Yeah,
Lynn, or?
one of the things we do every year is we sponsor the Two River Theater Company. And, that's really important. And unfortunately, the arts have really suffered
Terribly.
from COVID. But we've sponsored them
For as long as I can remember.
for many, many years. And it's so important. And I went to a show there, and it was just amazing. And I was proud to be a sponsor, to see, these talented actors and actresses and singers. And it's very rewarding to support that, because I think arts are so important. And I'm hoping that things get back to normal. So that's one of our biggest things. I also think we've contributed over the years to the Fulfill, that used to be the food bank.
Yeah.
Kevin, you can jump in now, and then I'll jump back.
Sure. Ray brought up kind of the history of the firm a little bit as far as it relates to the Chamber. But even before that, Abraham Zager and Larry Fuchs, who the firm is named for, who are both deceased. We lost Larry in 2020, so we remember him fondly. Those are two men whose record of service in this community goes way back. Abe Zager was a volunteer fireman. I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but when he passed away, there was a procession of fire trucks down Broad Street.
Wow.
So it just gives a sense of why, despite the fact that the two of those gentlemen aren't with us anymore, we keep the name. It means something in this community, and all of us attorneys at the firm, ever since I started there in 2005, have been encouraged and expected to do some community service in some way. Personally, I've served on my community's land use boards for a good 14 years. This is the first year I haven't been on a board because soccer coaching has taken over.
All encompassing.
Which is still service. It's a different type of
Absolutely.
service. Yeah.
That's better service.
Yeah, it's
I
a lot
love
of
little
fun.
kids.
It depends on how good the parents are.
Our freehold soccer club has amazing families. Everyone's very supportive. But I know Lynn has done a little bit of surveying of our partners to talk about what they do.
I want to comment about Abe Zager. I had the privilege of meeting him when I first became a lawyer back in 1993. And he was very involved in the Bar Association. And he was one of the first people to come up to me, introduce himself. He was just such a sweetheart, and to offer his assistance if I needed anything because I was a new lawyer. But the Bar Association named a professionalism award after him. So they have the Abraham Zager Professionalism Award that they present every year. Past winners are Gregory Baxter, Chaz Giuliano, oh my gosh, now I'm drawing a blank on who just won it. Jimmy, the prosecutor.
I don't know.
We'll come back. Don't
Jimmy,
worry.
forgive me. It's going to come back to me. So, in any event, that's important, for his impact on the Monmouth Bar Association and our community. For me, I'm the past president of the Legal Aid Society, and have been on the board. I'm now a lifetime member because I've been there so long. And we provide legal services to the indigent in the community. Basically what we do is we match lawyers on a pro bono basis to the clients. And we, serve the community in that way, which is very important. And I've been very dedicated to that association.
How does that work? How do they get involved? Are you contacted by other organizations, like as an example, 180 Turning Lives Around with domestic violence?
No,
and so,
180 Turning Lives Around has their own
Right.
panel of attorneys. How Legal Aid Society works is a person calls. We have an executive director, Valerie Hemhauser, and we have an assistant, Robert. They vet the candidates over the phone to see if they meet the guidelines, because
Okay.
there's strict guidelines in terms of income and assets in order to
Okay.
be eligible for free.
So they're contacting you directly.
service. They contact us
the legal
directly,
aid- Okay,
then
not through other organizations necessarily.
Right. They fill out
Okay.
an application to see if they qualify. The executive director meets with them. Our board meets every other month to discuss our fundraising efforts because, it's very bare bones, and we've got to try to keep our doors open. And
Right.
when I was president, I don't remember the year, but we had to close down for 2 weeks because we had no money.
Wow.
And we just developed all these fundraisers, and we sort of cleaned house, and we're back
Right.
back in action.
Right.
And things are really much better than they were, and we've been getting more grants, and we've been
Good.
able to sustain ourselves. But that organization's been around for 75 years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. I am also the incoming president of the Monmouth Bar Association as of
Congratulations.
next
Congratulations.
Thursday.
Wow.
So I've been involved in a lot of the community things. I'm a former co-coordinator of the mock trial competition. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, where the high school students
Yes.
make a team
Team.
and mock trial, and they
Mock trial, right.
participate at the courthouse. This year they did it virtual. Jonathan Cohen, who's chairing it now, did an amazing job. But that was very rewarding to do that and see these students just, embrace the case and perform in a real courtroom. So, those are some of the things that I do. I did, Al Zager, of course, is very involved in the chamber.
Yeah.
He is the former president of his temple. He's very active in the organization called Change, which Kevin knows what that means.
That would be a Center for Holocaust and Genocide Education
Out of Brookdale.
out of Brookdale.
Yes.
Yeah, and he is very dedicated, organizes fundraisers for that.
And he's been involved with that. I think since its inception as well, almost.
I would probably say that's
I think
true.
he was involved, probably one of the people involved at that time, because I've been to different events with him for the organization at different points in time.
I started working with Al in 2004, and say that's around the peak of his professional career. Very busy lawyer.
Right.
And I was always amazed watching him put as much time as he put into growing that organization
Right.
into something that it does real
Yeah,
things. And
I know that at Rumson Fairhaven High School, where I was on the Education Foundation, we used to get grant applications for the high school students in certain classes to go to see, the out of Brookdale, the entire program that's set up, and they would have a speaker that would speak to them as well about everything that was going on. And I know it was very well received by the students because we got feedback from that.
yeah,
It's a great organization.
we all see so many 501c3s pop up. People have an idea, it doesn't really do anything,
Right.
and then they just disappear. This was one that Al presided over it for I don't know how many years,
Yeah.
probably 15 years or
Yeah.
so, and saw it really grow by leaps and bounds. Do really amazing things, well respected things in this area
Yeah.
and statewide.
Yeah, I mean, at one of the events that I went to, they actually had a Holocaust survivor come in and speak, which was really amazing and moving. They've done fantastic work there. It's great, and Al's been terrific with it. I know.
And Al also encouraged us, and we did, to sponsor the MS Women's Race, which benefited 180 Turning Lives Around, which was a boat race, I guess. We've done that for the last few years. I tell you, Al's like our I don't want to say grandfather because he's not, but he's the one who comes in and tells us what we need to do, and
Yeah.
we listen.
He's our spiritual leader.
Yes,
Yeah, there you
he
go.
is.
and again, it sounds like it's the Al Zager show, but I mean,
Al, if you're watching,
Yeah, I know he's watching, and I think he really wanted to be here. So
and he was also integrally involved in helping to form the Eastern Monmouth Area Chamber of Commerce Education Foundation, which provides funds to non-traditional students. An example is you may have a working mom or dad that is fully employed but needs to go back to school or wants to go back to school to earn another degree or a first degree, and they provide scholarships to those students and those individuals on an annual basis. So he was very, very. I think again he probably formed it. He probably wrote the bylaws, if I know Al. And so he's been very involved in that, and we thank him for that because that organization has been around quite a long time.
And our partner Mike Warshaw has been involved in the chamber as well. He is on the Brookdale College Foundation. He is part of, I believe he's past president of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick of the Jersey Shore. He's very proud of his Irish heritage. He's also been involved with the CBA Alumni Association and some other things. I hope I did the highlights right, Mike. But he's also very community-oriented. Our partner, Andy Krantz, has been very involved with Jewish and Family Children's Services. We all went to an awards dinner in his honor a few years back. Kevin was my dance partner that night.
Oh, one of those nights.
We had a good time that night.
We had a good
We're
time.
gonna pop that video up now.
Please don't.
And our most recent partner, John Murdoch, has also been involved in the chamber, and he's the chair of the Health and Wellness Committee, which makes sense because John's the most fit and health conscious of us all. And he's also been involved in Ladison, and I believe Andy's been involved in Ladison as well. So it's important. I always feel that I'm very blessed to be an attorney and to be able to be a part of this profession. And giving back is really, really very important. And I'm planning to schedule a community giving back to the community day when I'm president of the bar and having tables set up in the courthouse. Hopefully, we can be back in there with different lawyers. Giving meeting with the public, giving advice on different areas and helping them to give back. So that's one of the things I'm working on. I've lectured a lot to the community on, at assisted living facilities. I've lectured at the courthouse. I've lectured for the state bar. I've lectured for the county bar. Just education to let everybody know, the things they need to do. And
Great.
I work hard to do that. Kevin, what else do you have to say?
I think we covered a lot right here this
Well,
morning.
I guess your firm's best known to me personally from John Murdoch, who came in and approached the chamber about creating a new committee. And it's one of the first new committees that we've created for quite some time. And he's really taken it on, solely being fully responsible for it and becoming involved in it. And really, his commitment is kind of what makes our chamber work. The commitment from your firm overall has made a huge difference to us. But, we are looking for, people to come in and, be involved and bring ideas, bring different things. It does kind of get a little bit old. We get people that, have been doing this for a long time and I won't say they're burnt out, but by any means, but they've been doing it for a long time. We need fresh ideas, fresh insight, fresh energy.
You always do.
Yeah. So it was a big deal for John to come in and we've hosted him here before as well. A couple of times I think now.
Yeah. One of the things that we'd also like to do is give you the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the specifics of what you do. Kevin, I know we've had a couple of transactions over the years, but maybe you can dive in a little bit more and tell a little bit more about what it is you do for your clients, on a regular basis, and some of the things that maybe set you apart from some of the larger firms that are out there.
Sure. Well, for pretty much the entirety of my career, I've been doing planning and zoning board work. And when it comes to even a simple real estate transaction, there could be underlying zoning issues that people aren't aware of and they don't know exist. I advise my clients on those kinds of things, especially clients that want to get into the investment side on real estate. There are development issues, there are landlord tenancy issues, there's tax issues, there's all kinds of things that if you have an attorney with the breadth of our experience and local knowledge, you could add a lot of value by using an attorney like that. So that's what we can provide as far as real estate services go. Lynn?
One of the things that I'm very passionate about is the elder community. I've been fortunate enough to be practicing elder law since I started, and I love my elderly clients. I enjoy them. They have such wonderful stories to tell, and a lot of them have never been to a lawyer's office before. And who wants to come to a lawyer, and who wants to talk about wills and estate planning and everything? So sometimes they come and they're nervous, and I'll say, they'll come in with their children. They'll say, oh, Mom, Dad, how are you? I want to make them feel comfortable and at ease. And I think that there's, as the population ages, the costs of long-term care are just astronomical.
Oh, yeah.
And, people are getting older and living longer. And sometimes that's not always the best thing. Modern medicine, some of these people really are outliving themselves. They shouldn't be alive because their quality of life is not well. So, I do a lot of educating the clients about Medicare and Medicaid and long-term care options and planning. I also do a fair amount of estate litigation when we have the cases where the best example is the second wife versus the kids with the prior marriage, and wills being changed at the last minute, and undue influence and lack of capacity, and that gets interesting.
Yeah.
On the matrimonial side, I'm helping people go through what is a terrible part of their lives. I'm recently divorced, so I had all this experience on my own as an attorney, but then going through it, I think I have a better understanding now.
But you can't even see it. You can finally see it from the other side of the table
Yeah,
now. And I'm sure, seeing who you are, I'm sure that you always tried to do that.
Yes.
But it's almost impossible because it's you get blinded by stuff.
But now I understand.
Yeah.
Understand even more. So
and going back to the elder care law, something that I'm going through right now. Getting an idea of what has to happen before it has to happen, I can't tell you how important that is.
Oh, right.
Getting a plan up front, getting that figured out, and at least having an idea what direction you're going, because you walk into it and you say, oh, wait, you've got to go to assisted living tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And And
wait a
that's-
minute, you know,
that's-
you're thinking you had 10 years to go. So I can't emphasize that to anybody
Oh my
more
God,
to figure it out before you need it.
I mean, I do crisis planning, but it's better to plan ahead.
Yeah.
And I've gone through it with my own parents. I've lost both my parents, and I call it the downward spiral.
Yeah.
A family will come in and say, "Oh, mom broke her hip, and she's going to go to rehab, and we're trying to take her home." Okay, take her home, and I don't want to say, this is the tip of the iceberg, and there's gonna your parent is now going to have another event, break another bone, or have a stroke, and then be in and out of the hospital and home, and then is assisted living an option, and do you wait too long where your parent isn't a candidate for assisted living because they need too much assistance?
Right.
So it's a very delicate area, and I feel bad. I understand at all levels for these families going through it, and there's so much misinformation out there.
Oh my God, yes.
Everyone's like, "Oh my God, I have to transfer my house to my kids." I'm like, "Well,
Don't
maybe
do it.
that's not the
Maybe not.
answer." There's tax basis issues when you do that, and there's a lot of attorneys out there who don't specialize in this area, and I think sometimes they don't realize the impact. Medicaid has a 5-year look back if you make gifts or transfers of your property,
Right.
and then you need long-term care, and if you can't get that money back, you have a big problem. So there's a lot of nuances to it, and there is some crisis planning we can do, but it's better not to wait till the crisis.
Right. I don't want to get, this, your job, it involves a lot of emotional tie to
Yes.
everything that you do.
Yes.
But obviously, over the past 12 months with COVID, there's been a lot of emphasis on nursing homes, and
Yes.
the fact that people believe that they are one of the most, they have to be one of the most highly regulated industries out there, and that's really not true.
They're regulated.
But and I guess one of the first public perceptions that somebody has is, I need to put my mom or my dad into a nursing home. So they go online, they say, okay, what are the best nursing homes in my area? And they'll come up with, and there'll be ratings for those nursing homes.
Mm-hmm.
But those ratings aren't verified or regulated in any way.
Well, they are. They do have to do a census with the
Right.
state, and they are surveyed, I think, at least once a year. What I say, and I'm not knocking nursing homes in
Right.
any fashion,
Right.
but when was the last time you saw a new nursing home built?
Right.
I'll tell you, I remember it. It was the Jersey Shore Center when I first started practicing in Eatontown. That was the last new nursing home I recall. Now, all you see is new assisted living facilities.
Right.
And, that's become the preferred method. And nursing homes look like nursing homes. Assisted living facilities, sometimes I joke that I'm going to go there for the weekend. I mean, you get your meals, you
Right.
have activities,
Right.
they have happy hour.
Right.
And there's a trend in the assisted living community that they're going to keep your parent, even if they're beyond the assisted living
Time frame.
stage,
Stage, okay.
And I have to give a shout out to Sunrise of Lincroft. I just lost my mom last week, and she was in a nursing home, and we weren't allowed to see her. We were allowed to have window visits. We were allowed to FaceTime. She had suffered a stroke. And I was like, I can't leave her there. And we wanted to bring her home so badly with a home care agency or a home health aide. And she needed 2 people to move from the bed to the chair because she was paralyzed on her left side. And my friends at Sunrise of Lincroft, they evaluated her, and even though she needed total care, they took her there.
Wow.
And they took my father at the end of his life, and they took care of them, and it means so much to me because we were able to visit my mom there. And with
Right.
COVID, I couldn't be in the circumstance where I got to see her at the window or at FaceTime. It just
Right.
wasn't the same.
It's not.
Right.
It's not.
So I'm blessed. I got to see her the day she passed, and hug her and tell her I love her.
Right.
And you can't put a price on that
Right.
one.
Right.
So it's very tough. It's tough.
Kevin, I was thinking on the drive over here, I know that in my job as a commercial lending officer, I've been in situations that have kind of, that I always joke about and saying, there's this 1 or 2 or 3 instances where you say, boy, I can't believe I was actually involved in that. So my point is that, what was the oddest situation that you had, or the most comical or just the most memorable situation that you had, with a real estate transaction or a business transaction, that made you just, that makes you tell the story, saying, well, there's this one time when, it probably happens more often than you'd like to think, but there's got to be 1 or 2 that stick out.
Sometimes the extraordinary has just started to feel ordinary to me, the way it's gone in the last couple years. No, there have been a number of transactions over the years. One in particular that stands out is a gentleman was purchasing a property in Long Branch from an estate, not from an estate, from an actual living person. Mm-hmm. But during the pendency of the contract, the person passes away. Well, that always causes a little bit of process on top of the transaction, but we don't expect too much delay when that happens. He was still interested in the transaction, but then the executor takes the file and says, I'm not selling the property for that price to this guy. And he wanted to get more money for the property. Sure. And he was being greedy. So my client didn't want to accept, a termination, right. And he asked me what he could do. His previous attorney said, there's nothing you can do about it. I said, to hell there isn't. So we instituted a specific performance action. Mm-hmm. We went to the Chancery Court to enforce the contract, and we got an order that said the estate must sell the property to the buyer. Well, the buyer still wouldn't cooperate. The seller, excuse me. The estate still wouldn't cooperate. So I go back to court and I ask the judge to put in her order a provision that allows me to sign the deed to the buyer myself as the buyer's attorney. Order issued, and I did it. And that was one that I'll never forget. Yeah. I thought that was amazing. But
that's really, really interesting. There's a lot of things I thought you would come up with, but that's not one of them. That's pretty cool.
It's amazing what can be done sometimes.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you try.
Right.
So that's one. I hope that fits the bill.
Yeah, no.
That's a good one.
Obviously involved in different scenarios over different periods of time. I had a situation where I had two brothers involved in a business, and I happened to be out playing golf, on the day off with a friend of mine, and I get a phone call from one of the brothers that says, "Don't talk to my brother. He's taking money from me." And I'm like, okay. Or, do you want to go? I can't really go into more depth. Just don't take any phone calls. Don't talk to him. 2 minutes later, phone rings. It's the brother. Don't talk to my brother. He's robbing from me. He's taking money. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not talking to either one of you ever again. The next thing you're going to hear is from the bank's attorney, on this, because we're not touching this thing. And ultimately, fortunately for me, it was an SBA loan, which means it was guaranteed. And we didn't lose any money on it, but those two fought for years in court. So it's one of those things that you just can't picture.
It's always better on deals like that. It's crazy. One of the things when you're in transactional work, Ray, like you are, it's amazing that people are in such a rush to get into a dispute. And it's more expensive. Sometimes within 10 seconds where something needs to end up.
Right.
And I always tell people, let's just go there now versus spinning our wheels for 2 years to end up there. And it's crazy that people just let their emotions take over, especially on a business deal.
Right.
Well, throw the family in there.
Right.
I can't.
I don't even want to.
No, I can't tell you.
Like, this is a daily thing for you.
I can't tell you how many guardianship cases I have where the elderly parent may have done a power of attorney, to avoid a guardianship, and a sibling thinks that the agent under the power of attorney isn't acting in mom's best interest, so they move for guardianship. And then we have everyone fighting to be guardian of the parent. And, you're supposed to be family and everybody's supposed to get along. Well, that
That's
doesn't
not
happen.
true.
And when there's money involved,
Right.
forget about it. I once had a case this was just so bizarre, where the son sued the mother well, first of all, he wanted to have her declared incompetent, but she wasn't. And then in his guardianship complaint, he said that his sister unduly influenced mom to change her will. The woman was not even gone yet, and he was trying to bring an undue influence claim before she passed away. And we ultimately settled, and this woman was the sweetest. She's since passed away. She was so good to her children, and she told me something very important. She said, too good is no good. So if you're too good to them, it damages them. So we ultimately put some type of crazy settlement on the record, and we're leaving the courthouse, and my client, God love her, gives her son the finger as we walk out. And she said, Lynn, did you see that? I gave him the finger. And I said, good for you.
That's awesome.
So, it's sad. I mean, and unfortunately with these estates and money's involved, and money makes people crazy.
Yeah.
I've had people fighting over small estates. Like, there was once a lawsuit over personal property. It was insane.
Right.
And I had to try a case for 2 days because second husband accused daughter of taking personal property out of the home. 2 days. I mean, I won, but it was still 2 days.
And over pictures or
Yeah, coins.
coins.
I don't even remember
Yeah.
what it was. It was stupid, is what it was.
Yeah, but you find that more people on a personal level like that are willing to go to court and just not have reasonable expectations than people like something for business. You throw
Yeah.
that personal aspect into it, and it just overtakes it all.
Yeah. Guardianship and estate litigation, Judge Lair used to say it's like a divorce with money.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Other areas of the firm. Obviously, you
There's
both have
tons.
specific, jobs and interests and professions that you have. What else does the firm do outside of what you two do?
Take.
And
Sure.
and tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So you heard about Lynn and myself. Partner Andy Krantz also handles a lot of real estate work. He also handles a lot of liquor license transactions. So
Yes.
many of the bars and restaurants that you go to, Andy probably worked on the transaction on that.
Yeah, there's
on
only
that property.
a few attorneys in Monmouth County that I'm aware of that really do that work.
There really are
because
very
it's
few.
very specific and it requires
And
a
it's
lot of expertise.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he knows his stuff. So
Yeah.
the liquor stores, bars, restaurants, and he handles a lot of those in addition to the regular real estate practice that he has. Mike Warshaw is a commercial trial attorney. He handles Social Security and disability law cases.
He also does personal injury
Personal injury.
and workers' compensation.
Yep, and general litigation. And John Murdoch, who we mentioned before, he came over to us from the Willents law firm. He developed a practice niche advising medical practice groups. There are many regulations and other considerations that are very specific to that area, and John is amazingly knowledgeable in those issues. So I, adamantly refer people that are in the medical field to John when they have questions about their organizational setup.
And he also does transactions, sale
Yes.
of medical practices. He frequently lectures on HIPAA, which is the Privacy Act,
Right.
and all the requirements that you have to meet for that. So that's his area, which I had never known anybody who did that before. So he's a good addition.
He actually just handled the transaction for one of my clients on the sale side.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think I'm pretty sure my client was pretty happy. It was funny because I had to sign. He had asked me to come down just to sign a letter, on behalf of the bank for the sale. And I met with him, at your office, and we just kind of met downstairs, and because it was amidst COVID and nobody knew what we were doing, so we just met downstairs, mask on, signed the documents, and I took off.
There have been, a year ago, we were right in the thick of it. Maybe it was even starting to be a little bit lesser a year ago. About a year and 3 weeks ago, we were really in the thick of
Right.
it. Nobody knew what was going on.
Right.
And we had closings where people would pull up in their car, roll the window a tenth of the way down. I would slide papers through the window. They'd sit there with masks on, sign all the papers, slide it back through. I would notarize, and that's how we were doing closings for a while.
Yeah, we were
was
dropping the
crazy.
stuff on the front porch. They'd come out, get it. We'd go back to our car. They'd come out, get the paperwork, go back in, get on the phone, and go through the entire
Yeah.
thing.
Amazing.
And then,
Yeah, a lot of people, people ask me, and maybe you can touch on this from probably the legal aspect a little bit, but people are always asking me, why do I need to have a physical closing? Now, we've obviously done the majority of them remotely. In the bank's case, what we'll do is the borrower will sign all the proper documents, in front of their attorney or with their attorney in some methodology, and then they'll scan them all and send them to us. We'll review them, approve them, they'll overnight them, and once we have them, you're good to go. But, one of the things that did happen during the pandemic is that we started to use Adobe Sign. From my understanding and representing, Provident Bank, is that the federal government, the auditors that are coming to us are still looking for wet signatures. But during this whole situation, there was a lot of things that were done through Adobe DocuSign, where you really didn't have a physical wet signature. All the PPP loans that we did were done through Adobe DocuSign.
Yeah.
Because we had no choice. There's no way in the world we could have done what we did. Where do you see that as a possibility kind of moving forward, that will ever happen?
Yeah, I really
Because
hope so.
I do too, because it would make life a lot easier
It really
for us.
would. And, I remember as a brand new attorney, I was very, very vigilant about explaining every line of every document to the client, and they wanted to jump out of the window.
Right.
They don't want to be there listening to all this. And I understand the need to verify signatures.
Right.
People are signing notes and mortgages.
Right.
And the bank needs to know that those are not fraudulent signatures,
Right.
that the borrower can't then claim that it wasn't them who signed it
Right.
in the future. So that's, I think, the central importance. If there's a way that the banks can protect themselves from those kinds of claims, then I think I see it heading in
Right.
that direction. I think COVID has made us all more accepting of remote procedures,
Right.
Right.
especially in court, right,
Yeah,
Lynn?
there's a Remote Notarization Act that I'm sure you've heard of that was passed when COVID started, where you can, witness signatures remotely, but it requires a special declaration in a will or other related document that you did it remotely pursuant to this law. I tried not to do that because I was concerned about validity issues. You need 2 witnesses to sign a will.
Right.
So to the extent I could, I didn't do it remotely. We did have some in-person meetings when we needed them, and masked up. We
Right.
stayed apart and,
Right.
and had the documents signed. So there's always a concern about fraud, and the Remote Notarization Act says you have to keep the recording for 10 years.
You have to keep the video.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Wow.
that's another thing. What was your question? Oh, court.
Yeah, court.
I've been doing court via Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or telephone conference since last March or April, whenever they started. I've had actual trials. I had one domestic violence trial and one post-judgment alimony modification trial via Zoom. I've argued motions via Zoom. I've done mediations in person and via Zoom. I figured out how to do the breakout rooms, which is a nice little feature.
Yeah.
It takes me like at least 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to separate the parties now.
I love
But,
court Zoom.
It's.
Proceedings.
I think it's going to stay.
Oh, without a
do
doubt.
too.
Do you think that could actually help accelerate some of the backlog that's in, or is it just the attorneys are going to pontificate as they pontificated as they
No,
always say?
it's-
Do you think it's
Are
helping?
you calling
just
us
make,
pontificators?
You spent 3 years
Not
learning
you.
how to
Let's
do
get
that.
out of here, Lynn.
Not you guys, all the other attorneys. I mean, did you see it speed up? Did you see it move faster at all, or
One
did it
thing
just-
that I can describe, and I think you'd be able to really relate to this is, when you have a litigation file, it's not just show up to court and have a trial. There's many court appearances along the way, right? And when you have those court appearances, sometimes there's nothing really earth-shattering that goes on at these
Right.
appearances. They're just management conferences. It's just how long do you need to do depositions?
Right.
And it takes really 5 minutes.
Right.
But
It's an entire
the
day.
actual event of leaving your office, going to court, walking into the courtroom, there's 25 other attorneys waiting for their case to be conferenced. So you're in there for an hour and a half. Then you get into the judge's chambers. You have your conference. You chit-chat a little bit. Then you leave, you drive back to your office. It's a 3-hour event.
For 10 minutes,
For
or
a
20
10-minute
minutes, yeah.
product, and now that's a 10-minute product.
Right.
And it's a 10-minute bill.
Right.
So
So-
it's very good for the client.
So maybe
Yeah, and the court
seeing
system. Sure.
seeing more of the preliminary meetings on Zoom,
Yeah.
and then when you really get to the meat of the trial,
I think so.
then,
yeah.
So that would be helpful to you.
A
helping
lot
more
of that.
people.
Some trial matters are touchy-feely. You want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I have an estate litigation case where I do not want to do it remotely
Right.
because I think credibility of the witnesses is going to be one of the most important things.
Right.
And I want a judge to see body language.
Right.
I don't want to see, from here up. And,
Right.
and that's like one of the things I argued. I said, Judge, I don't want to do this case remotely. It's important for credibility. And he said, well, with all due respect, it's not an emergency. You're
Right.
doing it remotely.
Right.
And, we did it remotely, and the results were very good for my clients, so I was happy. And we've been told in the matrimonial arena, a lot of this remote work is going to continue.
Right.
And, instead of going to all the way to court to put through an uncontested divorce and wait for everybody and the cases in front of you and drive and you bill your client for
Right.
travel time, we do the uncontested divorces remotely, and
Right.
it works perfectly.
Right.
And so those things I think are going to stay. I mean, I think the practice of law as we know it has been forever altered.
Wow. And so, I mean, because I've heard that there's always, there's a significant backlog. Both county and
Right.
state
Where the
levels.
backlog really is these criminal trials.
Is in the criminal trials?
The criminal
Okay.
area is
Okay.
really having a hard time.
Okay.
Because I don't think they can do remotely.
Right.
I'm proud to say Monmouth County Judge Thornton has been wonderful. She's our assignment judge. And she has started the civil jury trials where the jurors are remote and the
Okay.
attorneys and the witnesses are in the courtroom.
Interesting.
And so they have had these several civil jury trials, and apparently it's working. And they do a walkthrough. They get invited to the courtroom. The attorneys, they get to see the angles. I think there's plexiglass in place. I haven't
Right.
been there,
Mhm.
but I hear that they're really making strides to make this happen. So the real backlog, I think, is going to be in the criminal area and the civil trials, because not everybody wants to do them remotely. And it's a lot to go into a trial and presenting your evidence. So, they really have to do this the right way.
Right.
And when we have trials via Zoom, we submit all of our documents to the judges in advance for evidence, and then the judge, thank God the judges are more technologically savvy than I am. The judge, I'm like, Judge, I'm looking at Exhibit B, and Ms. Staufenberg, let me put that up on the screen for you.
Right.
Oh, thank you, Judge. Because I don't know how to do it.
Right.
So, it's definitely a new world. I mean,
Right.
I gotta say, I never ever, if you told me 2 years ago this is the wave of the future and this is what we would be doing, I'd
Right.
never believe
Never
it.
would believe
Yeah,
it.
when this first started, we were sitting here discussing how we were going to do our meeting the next Wednesday, and we were able to pivot. But like you said, so many things have changed. Like some of our committee meetings within the chamber, I don't think we'll ever go back live. You know, I think like some of the things like the executive board meeting and the board meeting are going to go back live pretty quickly. But just, you know, like you said, you know, instead of a 3-hour commitment, it's you know, an
20
hour.
minutes.
You turn your desk and you're there for an hour and then you're done.
Right.
You know, it gives you more time to do stuff. You know, like I took my mom to the hospital yesterday just for a COVID test. 4 hours for a 15-second.
They're
Zip.
not going to do those remotely.
Well, they could have. They just refused to accept it. She had one sitting here, and then 2 hours later she had another one because they wouldn't accept the one from the assisted living. So, so we got about 15 minutes left, and there's a couple of things we did want to touch on. Number one, we have something called Spinnaker coming up, and we've touched on that a little bit, but tell us what's going on with that.
Sure.
And by the way, we are very lucky to have Ray Eckhoff here, who is the chairman of the Spinnaker Committee, former chair, former vice chair, been a member here for about 25 years. One of the most engaged chamber members I think I've ever met.
Thank
you. Chris Ryan and myself worked on what does it mean to be a board member in a chamber, and we took Ray Eckhoff as the perfect person to model a board member after.
Thank you. Again.
But tell us about your Spinnaker.
So Spinnaker's coming up on June 9th, and we actually we had our Spinnaker's normally in January. We fully realized, at the towards November last year, that January was never going to happen. So we had pushed it out to the 28th of April, saying, the vaccines are coming, we should be in good shape. Nobody expected the second spike, so we moved it again out to June 9th. So, but we are set for June 9th with the easing of the restrictions. We anticipate probably having about 175 to 200 people there in person. Now it's at the Sheraton in Eatontown, which is nice because they have a lot of room. That room can actually hold, I think the room can actually hold technically like 400 people.
Wow.
So we're going to be much less than that. So we're going to be able to move things around, and keep people more socially distant. And we're going to have the cocktail hour, weather permitting. We'll be mostly outside, and we will even actually have an area outside the ballroom where if people are not comfortable, sitting inside, we'll have some table outside that they can socially distance and we'll have videos up. So we've made a lot of plans to really work the organization's biggest event, which we've been running for almost 30 years, the Spinnaker Awards Dinner, and I think I've been chairing it for the past 15, I think, give or take, chairing or co-chairing. So it's an exciting time. There's a lot of nice honorees that we have, and we're really looking forward to having you guys there. To represent the firm, and you're helping us by sponsoring, which is another terrific thing. So we appreciate that. But it is a really great event. I mean, we'll be honoring a full slate of people, including Good and Plants Bakery out on Route 36 up in Hazlitt. They've been around for forever, just kind of like your firm has, and it's a really good opportunity. Hopefully for us, and everybody will feel comfortable. Actually getting together again face to face, because I think that's really something that's been missing. There's only so many Zoom calls that you can go on. It's been really tough. It's been tough on the chamber too. My wife Jennifer runs the chamber, and she's doing a fantastic job doing that. And the things that she's had to do over the past 12 months have really pushed the limits of what a chamber can and can't do, but
without a doubt.
But holding a lot of Zoom events, podcast and coffee, things like that that have really benefited, I think, our members. But it's a big event coming up. We're really excited to be able to do it in person, because there's still events that are going on now that have limitations set on it, whether it's a limitation set by the facility or a limitation set because they're just concerned because, again, nobody wants to be in a situation where, somebody there has COVID, doesn't know it, and it spreads.
Right.
That's the concern, for all of
Absolutely.
us. But again, I think more and more people, in New Jersey are becoming vaccinated, and
Yeah.
and I, it's
And I fully expect that
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
who shows up there is going to be vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. I feel like most of the people that I deal with, both personally and from a business standpoint, I feel like most of them have been
Yeah.
and want to be. Interestingly, and again, this is amazing when you. I mean, I know we're kind of veering off the subject a little bit, but I was at a closing yesterday with a woman that's a nurse, and she's not vaccinated.
Really?
She doesn't want to be vaccinated.
Wow, that's brave.
I've got the same experience, and I'm really shocked at that. I am going
yeah.
to drag you back to the Spinnaker, though, because
Yeah.
I want to touch on. I don't want to get too
Thank
far
you
off
for
of that.
that.
It just yeah.
So, one of the other reasons that we have the Spinnaker Award is it's our major fundraiser for our Education Foundation. Now, we touched on the Education Foundation a little bit earlier, but I want to emphasize that we struggle to get people to submit applications for it. And the applications are available on our website, EMACC.org. And
They're due today, though.
well, we also have next year. So if you're out there, and you're a non-traditional student, if you're going to not for a degree but a certificate, that there's a place there for you. If you're looking to go some type of an apprentice, there's something there for you. But please, apply for these. We want to make it competitive. We want people to earn it, and we do a really good job. I mean, the Education Foundation does a great job about both raising money and finding people in need to promote Monmouth County education. But as I said, it is a fundraiser for that, so we're doing a raffle, and I'm not sure what we're raffling off. We haven't gotten the tickets yet, but reach out to us, and this is what we're trying to
and
do.
one of the most interesting things about the foundation is that when it was started, I believe Al reached out for Florence Ferguson.
I remember Florence.
And if I am correct, I believe that she was the first female attorney
You are correct.
in either the state of New Jersey or the county.
In
I
Monmouth.
In
definitely
Monmouth.
think it's Monmouth, yeah.
And she was integral. She had played an integral role in helping set up and to continue to fund the Education Foundation. I'll never forget having an event at her house on the Navesink River, where we invited the awardees to that event for a little cocktail reception. And she's just was such a wonderful woman, and such open, and she was so supportive of the Education Foundation for so long. And I've had individuals that I know that I worked with that applied for and received scholarships from the foundation. And again, it depends on any given year. I think they've given out as many as 12 in a year. So there is a way for the individuals to apply for this year, and then certainly looking for next year, and also by visiting our website and clicking on the Education Foundation link. There's also a way to make donations, and you can make specific donations, and you can do larger donations, whatever you like to do. So it's a really great opportunity.
Yeah, and it is really one of the best organizations that for education in the area.
Yeah.
We do have some other things coming up. We have Business After Hours coming up, and I'm sorry I don't have the dates in front of me.
Out on our, obviously you can check on the Chamber's website. Also, if you Google the Chamber on LinkedIn, Eastern Monmouth Area Chamber of Commerce, our post will come up, and we just recently had a post of everything that we're doing in May. We have a breakfast next week.
Yes.
On Wednesday morning. That is in person. That's at the Sheridan. They do a nice job there. Again, we do it in the there's an atrium area that has nice high vaulted ceilings so that we can properly social distance there as well. So we have a lot of things coming up. I think there's 4 things coming up this month.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we have Beach Bash coming up over the summer, Christmas in July, which is going to be at the. I'm pretty sure that we firmed up that it's going to be at the Red Bank Elks,
Right.
and looking for sponsorship for all of these. Sponsorship in the chamber is one of the best spend money. It gets, you get great exposure, and it's just
So as and you can't see it, and that's why I realize now that Jennifer, when she does the podcast, sits here. So she just landed off a flight from Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
And so, first of all, it's a 50-50 cash raffle at Spinnaker.
awesome.
Okay. We have the Business Networking Breakfast, which is on the 12th. May 25th is at the Long Branch Distillery. That's a business after hours, if you've never been there. And then Christmas in July is July 27th. That's the Elks Club in Red Bank. And then there's a conversation and coffee in mid-May, which again, that's virtual. So she obviously is just. I think she said her flight was landing at 9:30. She must have jumped off the flight and gotten right on. She's probably sitting in the terminal, connected and watching, which shows her dedication
Wow.
to the chamber.
That was
Without
actually
a doubt.
very helpful.
So there we
Thank
go.
you,
So
Jennifer.
look at everything popping up. Look at 20 posts. Terrific. But again, we certainly if there's anything else you want to just say in general. I know we've covered probably just about everything that we can, and you probably felt like, wow, there's a lot of questions. But again, this is obviously designed to be interactive and help promote somebody that's been so supportive of the chamber for so long, and we appreciate that. And and I know Al and his wife Robin. Have been so good to the chamber over the years, and we really do appreciate that. And I know the firm has been well respected for a very, very long time in Red Bank. The firm's been around for
60
years plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are very honored, to receive an award, and we appreciate it very much.
The Spinnaker Award is a prestigious award in the area, and we're tremendously honored
Yes.
for it. So thank you.
So on behalf of all of us at the firm, the partners and our staff and our office manager, Madeline, who's
Yeah.
been with the firm over 30 years.
Wow.
She's amazing and dedicated. So on
That's
behalf
great.
of all of us, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Did you turn it
I
on?
thought I turned it off. But it is off.
A nice little dance beat going on there. So-
But it's off. I don't understand why it still rings.
So, and kind of just in the last, minute or so, again, on behalf of the chamber, thank you for coming. We enjoyed having you. It was great to see you again, Kevin.
You too, Ryan. Thanks.
And Lynn, it was very nice to meet you
Nice
as well.
to meet
We're thrilled again to have you, and Spinnaker is coming up on June 9th. The chamber, we are very hopeful that we will, as things progress and as the governor opens up, more and more things for us to do. In person, obviously what we're going to try and do, and as a chamber, is to try and hold more outdoor events. Help people feel more comfortable coming back out. But I know that I've missed it.
Absolutely.
I've missed that interpersonal interaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it goes a long way. For building relationships, and that's what the chamber's, one of the main things that the chamber's all about.
Right.
Is building those long-term relationships. It's kind of hard to do over a Zoom call.
Yeah, it's time to have some fun again.
It's really time to just to get back out there. And I know that there are are people that are concerned, and I think that we will continue to do everything that we can. We even do rubber wristbands with red, yellow, and green, which is red, don't touch me, and stay away, and wear your mask. Yellow is like, I'm okay, but don't get too close, and green is like, hey, I'm fully vaccinated, I'm good to go, I'm gonna be okay.
That's interesting
I like
because
it.
you never
I like
know.
it.
Like, we actually had an in-person trustees meeting for the Bar Association last night, and almost everybody was hugging. But there is one woman in
Right.
the corner,
Yeah.
and she's
And
like,
you-
"Yeah, don't hug me." I'm like, "Okay."
I had a meeting yesterday. Same
understood.
thing. Right.
Everybody's got a right to their own level of comfort.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you don't know their conditions. You don't
Right.
know if they can have the. So
Yeah.
listen,
So-
as we get back out, we are always looking for more people to show up at our events and to join us. And one of the best ways to find out about the chamber is to show up to one of the events, to meet the people that are there. So for anybody who wants to come to one of our events for the first time, it's going to be on us. All right, not one of our our yearly, like Spinnaker's not free for the first time.
Right.
But in any one of our regular monthly events, if you want to come and check us out, come as our guests and see what it's like and meet the people. I think that once you come, that you're going to stay, and that's our experience. So come and check us out.
Yeah.
You know, look at our
website.
the website, emac.org. Look at our Facebook, EMACC and J. We have videos on YouTube under EMACC. We're out there. Check us out, but ultimately you want to come and visit us and see the people. And you know, our membership chair will definitely get you involved and get you to meet the people that are going to help you grow your business. And you know, as our director says all the time, you know, you're not in business until you join the business community, and this is the business community for Eastern Monmouth Area Chamber of Commerce.
So we thank you for coming. It's
Thank
great
you.
having you.
Thank you.
And we've reached the end of our time. So,
We have.
So thanks, Tim. Thanks for hosting with me.
Thanks for showing up.
And it was great
Thanks
to be
for
here.
coming.
Good job.
Yeah, thank
Good
you
job.
all.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
all.
much.
Awesome.
All right.